The rib cage is obviously important in protecting the delicate heart and lungs and other organs. These long ribs, which surround these delicate organs, attach to thoracic vertebrae. There are 12 pairs of ribs and there are 12 thoracic vertebrae. Each rib has a head which will attach in most of the vertebrae between two neighboring vertebrae at what are known as demifacets. So there are two demifacets, one superior, one inferior, and so the head of a typical rib will attach to the inferior costal facet of one vertebra and then the superior costal facet of the vertebra inferior to that. There is also a section of a rib known as the tubercle, separated from the head by a neck. This then attaches to the facet on the transverse process of the thoracic vertebrae, known as the transverse costal facet. The earliest reptiles not only evolved longer ribs, which then offered more protection to thoracic organs, but also these ribs then contacted the sternum or breastbone on the anterior side of the body. And once that was accomplished, that was significant because the muscles between the ribs, known as intercostal muscles, could then contract and change the volume of the thoracic cavity, which then changes its pressure. And this changing pressure is now how these amniotes, including mammals like humans, do much of their breathing. So the external intercostal muscles on the outside and the internal intercostal muscles on the inside help us breathe by contracting and changing the volume of the thorax by attaching to ribs. The ribs attach to the sternum or breastbone, which forms as three separate elements which fuse: a manubrium, which joins the long body at a slightly raised region known as the sternal angle, and then finally a xiphoid process. The ossification and the fusion of these may not be complete until, say, one passes middle age, and they become then one bony element. These attach to ribs through costal cartilages made of hyaline cartilage. And one could distinguish between then classes of ribs. The true ribs have their costal cartilages connect to the sternum. And then there are false ribs that do not. The first three false ribs have costal cartilages, but these attach to the costal cartilage of rib 7 rather than attach to the sternum itself. And then there are two floating ribs which do not have any cartilaginous connection to the sternum.